Hello and welcome back. This is the first episode that I record after coming back from vacation. I just spent the last couple of weeks in Italy, went to a couple of weddings. It was amazing. So now I am fully charged and very excited about recording today's episode because it's something that surprisingly happens often to me. And that's people coming to tell me, oh my God, I love your branding. You have such a strong brand. And it makes me smile every time because if I think about 2 years ago when I started this whole business, I wasn't even sure about what branding was. I just didn't know what I was doing. And so it's something that kind of evolved over time by just showing up and re-editing what I wanted to be and like who I wanted to be in the online space, but also offline. So today I'm just going to show you how that happened for me and how that journey looked like. And also, I am just going to tell you about what I learned in the process because I think that there's so much misconception about what personal branding is. And so I want you to, first of all, not panic if you haven't started yet, but also just like take it in a way that actually will make a difference. Anyway, without any more introduction, let's get into it. You're listening to Business Sparks with Val, the podcast for expats and internationals who are done overthinking and are ready to build their business on their own terms. I'm your host, Valeria Kadelsky, business coach and founder of Spark Coaching with Val. Each week, I will bring you tips, learnings, and honest conversation so you can build with more clarity, more confidence, and a lot less second guessing. Let's get started. So the first thing that I thought, and I think it's probably the same thing that comes to your mind, is personal branding and visual identity are the same thing. And although visual identity is extremely important for personal branding because people will associate you with your logo and your colors and how you show up like quite literally online, I think that there's so much more to it than just a visual aspect of things. And that's something that I learned with time because I was so stuck on, oh my God, I need to pick my colors. I need to pick my logo. I spent so much time designing my logo. Yeah, I know, believe it or not. And it's really more about what people remember about you and what do they associate with you in terms of what you represent and what are your thoughts and how you show up in a space. And that is something that you only achieve through consistency, through many different touch points that you may have with people, both online but also offline, and how those touch points add up onto each other to basically form this image, this idea that people then have in their heads and associate with you. And that's just not about looks. It's also about what you think, about what you believe, about what you don't agree with, and really what you stand up for. And I understand that basically building that from scratch, considering that you also are living in a different country, you might not have a network, it is really hard work and it might take a while. So just to go back in time and tell you where I started. So when I left my corporate job around 2 years ago, I had around 1,000 LinkedIn connections. And these connections were mostly my colleagues, ex-colleagues, clients that I connected with through my previous work. And so it was really, really connected to my previous career in tech and in sales and marketing and so on. And so when I decided that I was going to build my own business around coaching and mentoring for expats to start their own thing, I basically did not have a network because that network was built on an idea of me that was completely different than the one that I was going to build. And so, of course, that felt a bit terrifying, first of all, because I was like, oh my God, what are these people going to think now that I'm just going to start talking about something completely different than what I've been, here for. And to be honest, I wasn't very active on LinkedIn at all. I hadn't been posting anything. And so it's also like that first step of, oh my God, I'm just going to post something and someone will read it. And then what is going to happen? And if you listen to the previous episode of my client Nabil, that was also a very big moment for her as well. And that's why I really make a point into kind of like getting over that with my clients, because it unlocks so much opportunity. But anyway, back to the branding aspect of things. So the first challenge was, okay, I know I want to be perceived in a certain way, but I have no idea how to do that. Like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to post about that will then in turn give that sort of idea of me being that person? And for me, one of the core values, and I already talked about this in other episode, is authenticity. Like, I want to be perceived as I am. I don't want to be perceived as like this persona of someone that, oh my God, Bal is a coach and like I'm just up here somewhere. And when you meet me, you get a completely different idea. So for me, it was really important that in specific, my online persona was exactly like a good representation of my offline persona. And that also captured who I am personally. But at the same time, I was very, very conscious about having some boundaries in place so that I could be protected as well. Because, of course, as we know, internet exposes you a lot to a lot of different things and opinions and people, and they're not necessarily always positive. And while I do welcome critiques and also, people disagreeing with what I'm saying, otherwise, where's the fun in that? I didn't want to sort of overshare my personal life or the people I care about to a level that would expose them to potential harm. So then once I realized that, I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And also, when I started, I didn't know exactly what my niche would be. So I just knew I wanted to coach people and I wanted to make them happier in their career and help them sort of like develop and like transition into something different. But I haven't yet found that identity around helping expats building their own thing and going independently and doing their own work, right? Because, well, I hadn't had enough experience. So I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. And that's a thing that I noticed with a lot of my clients, and it's very understandable. So then how do you start without necessarily having that defined yet? If you're listening to this and you're signing out, instead of asking, okay, what should my personal brand be, which is a question that is way too vague and what does it even mean, right? I would like you to ask yourself, what kind of conversations I would love to have every single day? And I could talk about for a long, long time with anyone that wants to talk about it. Are there any topics that are really, really close to your heart? Maybe trying to think about, okay, what are those things that I could talk about for a long time, but also somewhat relate to my expertise? So for me, for example, it was a lot around believing that I would want to work from different countries, because as an expat and as someone that is globally mobile and has homes in different countries, for me, being able to work remotely and just take my job with me was extremely important. So actually, my very first post that surprisingly got like hundreds of likes, and I was like very surprised about it, was a picture of me eating pasta with pesto on the balcony of my apartment in Italy, or my family apartment in Italy, and just like talking about how happy and privileged and grateful I was that I could just, not take days off, but like bring my work there and enjoy the sunshine, because like it was April or something, outdoors, and just, yeah, do that. And I mean, obviously, you may think, okay, what does that do to your work as a coach? Seemingly nothing, but it's just the repetition and the consistency of you keeping showing up that will build your personal brand. So don't get too stuck on that first post or first, let's say 10 posts, or how many people will like them, because what you're doing is building for the long game. You're not just building everything and the perception of you in your new career or business with that one post. It takes people 7 times of seeing something about you or reading something about you to even remember what the message was. So start with something you really strongly believe in that might be somewhat related to where is that you're heading. And then maybe start to think about, okay, who are the people that I actually would really, really love to work with? Like, who are my clients and what would I like them to know about me or to remember about me? What are the things that I think would be helpful for them to know? And just start building. Sort of like what I did was building different content pillars, which is a very basic branding concept or marketing concept. If you're in marketing, you might know that already. But it helps you having these like buckets that you can then like pull inspiration from to start writing about things. And I'm not talking just LinkedIn, of course, that will transpire across everything that you put out there. If you do a talk or like a workshop, if you talk to people randomly at a networking event, if you write a newsletter, if you're doing a podcast, anything that you put out there in the world and that people get exposed to is what's going to build what they remember you for. So again, trying to think about these buckets of topics that you can always pull back to. And then maybe if you want to get to that whole color conversation of how does your brand look like, as you can see, mine is very founded on blue, which is very honestly my favorite color. You can see I'm always wearing blue as well. Yellow, because of that bright, that like spark, it's connected to the name. And then this very kind of like modern, bold, but also calm vibe. And literally how I did that was I was thinking again, how do I want people to perceive me? I want them to perceive me as someone that is direct, as someone that is forward thinking and like optimistic for the future, or someone that is also grounded, also that has that sort of like vitality to it. Blue and yellow came up, and I thought, my God, that's perfect because they're also colors that I really love. And then I added in different fonts and that I sincerely just liked how they looked. So that's how I built my brand. And it was easy for me to maintain all of these things that I talked about throughout these past 2 years, both the way that I show up, but also the colors. And I made a point very in the beginning for it to be authentic. So it's something that I was able to sustain over time and to live by because it's literally me. It's who I am. And then one thing that I really want you to also take away is that you want to make sure that you know exactly how you want people to feel after you talk to them. So it's like, what is that lingering sensation that you want to leave for them once you walk out of the room and you stop talking to them? And of course, it's not going to be always 100% accurate because people have their own impressions and feelings and understanding of things. So you cannot control that part, but you can control how you want to be presented to them. And so for me, again, it was always about approachability in a way that people felt like they could talk to me and they could share with me, but also that I was still being able to express my opinions and my takes without fearing of disagreement or disappointment in people. Because for me, it's been a very, very big point about, leaving my people pleasing tendencies behind and just stepping more into, okay, this is what I think, this is what I stand for, and being able to hold that space. It always makes me so happy when people come to me and say, I really, really like the way you show up and it's so coherent. That's the word that I mean, when I hear that, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be coherent. It's like you meet me in person and you had an idea of me by seeing the stuff online, and that matches. That matches who I am. So that should be your focus. And then, of course, an element that is very important is thinking about what kind of people you want to attract with your brand. Because one thing is who you are, and the other thing is who you're for. And these two things sort of both need to come together in your personal branding and how you show up online. And for example, there might be some people that do not recognize themselves in you and do not recognize themselves in how you approach things. And that's completely okay. And you also need to be okay with that. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, because then you're even closer to the ones that do recognize themselves in you. But the point here, and that's around the branding aspect of things, is how then do you make sure that you do connect with the right people and the people you want to connect with? And that's something you need to understand. You need to understand what resonates with people. And you only can do that by trial and error. And again, if we take back my LinkedIn example, like at the very beginning, my content was so generic. It was really high level, and I kind of sounded like a lot of other coaches out there. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's the truth, because I was trying to pick different things from different people and being for everyone at the same time. And then over time, by working with more clients, looking and analyzing what I put out there on LinkedIn and also offline, and seeing what people resonated with, actually gave me an understanding of these kind of people resonate more with that. And I want to be talking with more of those people. So how can I lean more into that while still, of course, being myself and saying what I think? So it's an exercise of refinement that will happen over time. So don't stress too much about getting it all um, right from the very beginning, because again, it's something that will evolve, and you will evolve as a professional. No matter what kind of business you have, you as a founder, your identity will be shaped by the people you work with, the partnership, the experiences that you have. So let that branding evolve with you, so it always stay authentic to who you're becoming. And that's exactly how then I got from just less than 1,000 followers to now 5,300 something. And it's keep growing, because the people that recognize themselves on who I am and who I'm becoming are following along. And that's exactly what you want. I hope that this episode was helpful for you to know where you can start by building your brand, and knowing also that you need to allow yourself space to experiment and explore, like all the good things that will come with time and consistency and showing up. If you are feeling particularly stuck, I am leaving a link in the show notes, which is to my ChatGPT business architect bot, and that will help you define a little bit more about your business direction and also who you're for, and therefore understanding how your brand could look like, so that you can start putting stuff out there and showing up for who you really are and getting amazing clients and doing amazing work for them. Thank you for listening to Business Sparks with Val. I hope today's episode sparked something for you. You can find all my resources, book a free clarity call, or explore working together at sparkcoachingwithval.com. And if this episode was useful, leave a review or share it with someone who's building their own thing abroad. Until next time, your business is waiting. Go make it real.